me start by asking you, currently, as far as we go, we put them into the bigger bracket of Krobo land.
Okay.
What is the issue there as far as the ECG is concerned? What's the problem?
Are you asking so I sort of give a brief historical background?
I think a historical background will help before we come to the current situation. Yeah.
Okay. So somewhere in 2014 thereabouts, ECG started using a new billing software. This was used across board, across all the places ECG work in, and we work in, going by the old 10 regions, we work in Ashanti, Western, Eastern, Central, Greater Accra, and Volta regions. So this new billing software was deployed in all these regions, and unfortunately, it gave us some challenges. We had some customers who were getting high bills, as in they were getting overbilled, and some customers were getting underbilled, some customers were getting their normal bill. We quickly realized this and acknowledged that, yes, indeed, this billing software, the implementation has given us some challenges, which we worked on. And we're able to resolve the issues for all our customers across all our operational areas. So those who ended up paying more, we credited them. Those who had paid less because they were underbilled, we alerted them so that they could pay up to make up for it. However, for our Krobo district, there were some brewing issues already. And one of them had to do with some meters, some we call it the self-help electrification project. And these meters had been given to some residents, and it took a while for ECG to capture some of them. So some had been about 2 years and all of that, and obviously the bill would be a bit higher than they probably expected. And then there was this issue of some of them claiming that their forefathers had a memorandum of understanding with the then Kwame Nkrumah government, in which it was stated that after 50 years of the construction of the Akosombo Dam, they are not supposed to pay for electricity. So ECG asked for a copy of this memorandum of understanding, because we all know governance is continuous. So any new party, well, it's still the government of Ghana, and you are sort of bound to uphold some of these contracts, so to say. So we asked for this memorandum of understanding, a copy of it. And for years, it was one of the major topics that they are not supposed to pay bills because they provided land for the construction of the Akosombo Dam and all of that. So we kept asking for a copy. We took some initiatives to certain places in Ghana, like the National Archives, the Parliament House and all of that, because these are places that if there is indeed such a document, there definitely would be a copy there. But we couldn't get anything, and those who were also talking about these documents could not provide any proof. So when our billing issue came up, the billing software issue came up, these two issues were already sort of they were being rumored about, so it sort of escalated the whole issue, and then it started from that point. So the billing software became more like a catalyst to get us to this point. So there's been a lot of back and forth. There's been a whole lot of meetings. There was this Kofi Afewo committee which sought to investigate the claims for overbilling and all of that. And the committee came out to say that indeed there was the issue of overbilling and underbilling and all of that. But the underbilling, they weren't really talking about it, but the issue of overbilling, because that was more problematic. So the committee actually admitted that, yes, there was something like that. And ECG has always admitted that, yes, we had this challenge. And we also add that this challenge was not peculiar to our Krobo district, because all our districts, all our operational areas, we use the same software for our billing processes. So this problem happened everywhere, and we've been able to resolve it. The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC, on their own, they went to the Krobo district. They took some independent data. They collected data on their own. They didn't take it from ECG. They took it on their own from the customers to verify whether ECG had done its work. By that I mean that when we realized the overbilling and underbilling and all of that, we had to rectify, which we did. So all customers, we rectified and corrected it. But some customers in the Krobo district were saying that we had not, they did not believe that we had done this data cleanup. So PURC on their own went to the field. They took individual data from the customers and they cross-checked. And PURC certified that indeed ECG had done the cleanup, but still some of the customers were saying that they do not believe that the corrections had been done. So fast forward, we got to a point where we were saying that, well, we've had a lot of stakeholder engagements. We've had a lot of discussions here and there. The political leaders, the religious leaders, some youth leaders, the traditional leaders. It's been across board. So it got to a point where ECG management decided that, well, we are talking about an issue from 2014 to 2021, which is quite a long period. However, a lot of the instances that they keep citing, which had to do with the overbilling, it happened within the 2014 thereabouts, 2014 to 2017 thereabouts. So in that case, let's ring fence the 2014 to 2017 debt. So this means that we have set that period aside. So in all current discussions, talking about debt repayment and all of that, we are not talking about 2014 to 2017. That period has been set aside. So we have had questions as to, so what if somebody paid their bills despite it being high and all of that? What if they paid? What happens to them? And we've informed them that we have not cancelled these bills. ECG does not have the power to cancel any debt. We have set it aside. Now, this means that eventually, whatever decision will be taken on it, if, for instance, the decision is that customers would have to pay those monies, you who have paid already, you are safe from that. If customers maybe, just maybe, if another decision is taken, you would also be affected, and whatever credit there is, you would definitely get it. So for that period, we have set it as more like we have frozen that period. So we are not talking about it, 2014 to 2017. However, the 2018 to 2021, from 2018, all the bills were very... Please, are you talking to me?
No. I'm listening to you.
Oh, okay. From 2018, all the bills were correct. There were no anomalies whatsoever. Everything was okay. However, customers were still not paying. So we have proposed that initially, the proposal was that 2018 to 2021, customers will be given 2 years to pay this debt. And after some stakeholder meetings, it was suggested that the 2 years was too short. So ECG should consider making it 5 years. Management agreed on this. The Ministry of Energy agreed. All the relevant stakeholders were informed and they all agreed to this, that 2018 to 2021, customers have 5 years to pay up. Now, this 5 years, we are looking at individual arrangements. We can't say that every customer should pay, let's say, 50 cedis or 100 cedis, or customers in this debt bracket should pay 50 or 100. It's an economic thing. We are all different. We all have different strengths. So we are looking at one-on-one arrangements where a customer would come to ECG and, well, we all agree that, well, your debt for that period is 5,000 cedis. How much can you pay per month? The customer says, okay, I can pay 150 cedis per month. Then we schedule that. Now we are scheduling this not with a prepaid meter, which we usually do in all other places we work in. We would put the debt on the prepaid meter. But in this particular instance, one of the concessions ECG has made is that we will not put the debt on the prepaid meters. Now, the prepaid meters are also, in as much as they are, the prepaid meters are operational policies. And we are hoping to get to a point where eventually the whole country would be on prepaid meters. Currently, Jubilee House is on prepaid meters. I'm sure Radio Gold would be on prepaid meters. We are getting to a point where all agencies, all households, all businesses would be on prepaid meters. ECG started prepaid meter installation in the year 2000, which means this is our 22nd year of installing prepaid meters. So it was also decided that as soon as possible we need to deploy prepaid meters. This decision should have been a long time ago, but there were still some back and forth here and there, so it delayed the implementation process. However, this year we started the implementation of the prepaid meters from April 2022. ECG has made two major concessions. The first one is that if you owe ECG, you have just about 4 months to pay. Now, for the 4 months, the first month, you're expected to pay 70%. Let's say you've done illegal connection and ECG has gotten to know, or you haven't been paying your bills and ECG has gotten to know, issue of accumulated bill. You have 4 months to pay. Now, the first month, you're expected to pay 70%. Then the other 3 months, you're supposed to pay 10%. This is how ECG operates everywhere else. Now, the concession we've made for the Krobo district, where we have these issues, is that they would not have the 4 months, but they would rather have 60 months, which is 5 years, to pay their debt. 60 months, from 4 to 60 months. That's the first concession ECG has made. Now, the second concession is that everywhere else ECG deploys prepaid meters. If you happen to have a debt on your postpaid meter, on your old meter, the postpaid meter, we will put that debt on your prepaid meter, and you have very limited time to pay up that debt. But in this particular instance, ECG is saying that we are not going to put the debt on the new meters. So the new meters are being installed as zero debt. There's no debt. We are not going to use these meters to manage the debt. So this is the second concession ECG has made. Now, we started the deployment of the meters. Okay, the meter deployment, the prepaid meters, we internally, we start from pre-installation survey, which we started in December 2021. Then we moved to the education on the prepaid meters, how the meters work, how they function, and then we get to the actual installation. We started the actual installation in April 2022, and from April to about June 2022, we had installed just about 250 meters.
250?
250, just 250 in 2 months. Meanwhile, in other places, when we start deployment of prepaid meters in a single day, we are able to install 400 meters, sometimes 500 meters in a single day. But for 2 months, we had only installed 250 meters because we kept having resistance. So our field workers would go to the field to try to install. They'll be met with some resistance here, will not agree, will not let you do it. Even with the education, the prepaid meter education, there was some resistance here and there. However, from the 14th of June this year, ECG management decided that, well, it's a project, and every project needs a certain timeline within which it has to be completed. So it was decided that we needed to beef up the personnel doing the installation so that we can push it further. So 90 of our electrical engineers were drawn from all ECG operational areas into the Krobo district. So we currently have those 90 electrical engineers. They are from all our operational areas, from Ashanti to Western to Central, Eastern, Volta, Greater Accra. They are all in the Krobo district to support the installation. Additionally, between ECG and the Ghana Armed Forces, we've had over 2 decades of providing training, technical training and technical support to some professionals in the Ghana Army through our ECG training school in Tema. So every now and then we have some of the military people who come for some refresher programs, for some sort of attachment here and there. We have 50 of them from the 49 Field Engineers Regiment. Now, per my understanding, this is a unit of the Ghana Armed Forces that has professional engineers. So they have various types of engineers, from civil to mechanical to electrical to all of that. However, for those we have on the field, numbering 50, they are all electrical engineers. So they were also brought in to support the project to provide that needed technical support. In all this, from um, after the from the education of the prepaid meters, we've been going to the field with security, which is provided to us by the Ghana Police Service. So we've been working with the Ghana Police Service, providing us with the security because of all the threats and the resistance that we were getting. And up to when we continued the work with the soldiers and the extra engineers, the Ghana Police, they've been providing us with the security. Now, the meter installation started. I mean, I'm talking of the beefed up personnel, including the 90 engineers and the military, from the 14th of June 2022. So installation was going on well. We were getting some good numbers. However, as we were working and as as part of, I guess, a natural order of things, there will be faults here and there. So we had some faults, we had some faults around in some places in Lower Manya municipality. So some of the communities had an outage, which we started working on. Now, as part of the work we were doing, we were able to restore supply to some of the areas. Some of the faults were quite, it needed more time. So we're still working on restoring supply, only for us to realize that the communities that were off had the communities that were on had on their own started connecting to the transformers in communities that were on. We are talking of transformers, not like you have power in your house and you've connected power to another house. No, we are talking about whole communities, a whole community, the transformer serving them. They connect to another transformer. So we end up having issues of overloaded transformers. So when we realized this, we needed to go to the field to ascertain the level of interference, because first of all, you are not authorized to enter into ECG's network. If you do that, we call it unauthorized and illegal interference, because if they are electrical engineers in ECG, for instance, but then they are not authorized to work on aspects of the network. For them to do that, they will need some sort of orientation, because they've been working on other aspects of the power distribution. So you need to have that authorization before you can enter the network. Actually, before you can work on a transformer, a substation, and all of that, you have to have the authorization. How much more somebody who is not within the company? So when that happens, you may think, oh, I've just done something in my corner to be able to get electricity because that's all I need. But you wouldn't know the sort of probable havoc you may end up causing with the little thing you think you've done, because the whole network is linked. Everything is linked. All from here to Krobo. I mean, here as in Tema to Krobo to Radio Good. There's a linkage. Okay, it's like it's a network. It's all linked. So you may do something in your corner, thinking, "Oh, I just want electricity," so, but you could end up causing a lot of havoc. So when we realized the interferences that had gone on, so it was scary, because we didn't know the extent of interferences. We didn't know which cables had been moved from where to where, or what and what. We didn't know. So we quickly moved to the field to try to ascertain the extent of interference so we could fix it, we could work on it. Our people went on the field with some of the military people. It was one evening, and so I'm talking about Pouno. They went to the field in Pouno to check on one of the transformers. When they got there, some of the residents started amassing. They were gathering around them. So the military personnel told them that, look, they are only here to do their work. Nobody should, like, they're not there to fight anybody or anything like that. So they should just allow them to do their work. So they were able to check some things, and they decided to go back. Now on their way back, some of the residents started pelting our people and the military personnel, the vehicles. They started pelting them with stones, and there were also some who were burning ties in the middle of some of in the middle of parts of the road. And then there were two reported gunshots aimed at our vehicles. Thankfully, there wasn't any casualty. So based on that, it means that we couldn't ascertain, because there were other transformers. So we needed to work on all of this to ensure that, so if there had been any any damage, because definitely there would be some damage here and there, we could fix it without having to put out the supply. However, we couldn't do this because of all the resistance. Then there's also an issue of fiber. We have a fiber cable that runs to Pouno as well. Pouno is within the Lower Manya municipality. A part of the fiber cable got cut intentionally. Now we have a third party contractor who work on our fiber issues. They are called Vobis. So Vobis staff went to the field because they could tell that, okay, so there's an issue at this particular point, so we need to go to the field and fix it. So they went to the field to try to mend the broken cable, and they were immediately warned by some of the residents that if you should dare attempt to fix it, we will beat you up. So they also had to leave without fixing the fiber cable. This meant that internet connection, internet access to our offices had been tampered with. It had been cut off. So for the outage, because they didn't allow us to ascertain whatever had happened, so that we could be sure of the health and the integrity of our network, so that we could be sure that the power we are supplying is safe. Because one of our mandates, one of our major concerns, is to supply safe electricity. We all know electricity is good. It serves us in many, many, many ways. However, if there are some glitches here and there, it could cause a lot of damage. It could cause death. It could cause a lot of fires. It could cause huge loss of property. Now we don't know these interferences, what they've done. We don't know how they've done it. We cannot tell whether the power would be safe or not. Now, if ECG should have continued to supply power, and for some reason, let's say some 15 houses had gotten bent, I'm sure Sana would have called me this morning with some serious words for ECG. Sana would have questioned the sort of professionals ECG has. Sana would have questioned whether we couldn't anticipate that such a danger could occur. It wouldn't have been this. Sana wouldn't have allowed me all this time to be going on and on and on. He would have kept, interjecting. So, because of that safety concern, we do not know the extent of interference. We do not know how safe the power would be to the end user. We ended up having to shut down the feeders that supplies to all of these areas, because again, the network is linked. It is all linked. So one part that, like, if one part gets a damage, it could have a sort of effect on another aspect of the network. It's like the human body. You could have some slight headache. You may just ignore, but it could end up making you sick for like 2 weeks. You could be bedridden from a headache, because the whole body will get affected, even though it's supposed to be just a headache. So that's the linkage in the system. That's the linkage. So we couldn't ascertain that the power would be safe. So based on especially that safety reason, we had to shut down the supply. Now the safety has to do with the safety of our staff, the safety of our equipment and network, the safety of the power being supplied, the safety of customers' lives and property. It's an across-board issue. It's not just on ECG side, because at the end of the day, the product we are delivering has to get to the end user, and the end user is also paramount in the distribution business, because if you don't have an end user, you don't have a business. If you don't have anybody buying and using your product, then you don't have a business. So the safety covers all of us. It's really unfortunate that some other people or customers who were rather supportive of ECG's activities with regards to the prepaid meters have had to suffer these consequences. It's really unfortunate. But so at this, we've been asking that media houses as stakeholders in all of this, let us all join our voices to call for peace. There's no winner in this situation. We've all become victims of certain circumstances. ECG is a victim in this. The residents, some of the residents are victims in all of this. We've all become victims to some sort of issues here and there. There's no winner, there's no loser. We are all suffering the consequences. It is not, should I say, exciting for ECG to just put off power just like that. No, we want the power to be on. It's also one of our mandates to ensure that we supply safe, reliable, and quality power to support Ghana's socio-economic growth. We are not able to do that currently. We are not happy with it. Okay. But for us to do that, we need a peaceful working environment. We need a peaceful working environment.
So you're simply saying you had to disconnect power to guarantee the safety of your systems and the safety of the consumers too.
Yes. It's a two-way thing of our system, of our staff, of the consumers, their lives and properties as well.
So it looks like the only condition on which you can restore power will be if you are allowed to safely check on those transformers.
Yes, sir.
To see if they are in the right conditions to carry power.
Yes, and to also work on them in case because really there has been those interferences. So we need to be able to work on them. We need to be able to work on them. We need to be able to do that. If not, it could be chaotic. The havoc could be bad. It could be very, very terrible.
So you still haven't been able to, even the fiber cables, you have not been able to fix the challenge with them.
It's still cut. We've not been able to mend it. Even now, it's still cut.
There's also the third part where you're also saying that there were some communities that also had suffered some damage in terms of their transformers and transmitter stations, which we're working on. Those communities were the ones who had found a way to put themselves on other communities' transformers. Did you finish work on their transformers, or it was still work in progress?
Okay, so there were some outages. There was an outage that affected some communities. It was through faults. So in ECG, we have outages where we intentionally plan that on this day we'll put off supply at this particular area so we can do some maintenance work. It's like intentionally taking your car for servicing. You plan and you take your car for servicing. There are times where you'll be driving and you think everything is okay with your car. You've checked everything in the morning. It's okay. But then whilst on the road, the car just goes off. That's a fault you have no control over. But when the fault occurs, you still would have to make the time and put in the effort to fix it. And that is what we're doing. There were faults. The outage were caused by faults, and we started working on them. We were able to restore supply to some of the areas. It was still work in progress. Only for us to realize that some of the transformers were getting overloaded. It means that places that were off were connecting to transformers in places that were on. And last week, for instance, I think Tuesday, last week Tuesday, in Kojonya, which is a suburb of Odumase, one dawn, I think the Tuesday dawn, one of the residents saw somebody, another purported resident, loitering around one of the transformers. He raised an alarm. The other neighbors came to where they were. They accosted this person, took him over to the police. He had some items on him. They took him over to the police. They described where he was and what he was doing and all of that. The police took it up. They called in ECG. We went to identify the items he had, and indeed he had taken some of the parts of the transformers. So he had fuses and S cable, and I think a switch as well. He's been processed for court. The court has handed him a 12-month prison term. This happened just last week. And then the same last week, Friday, at Akuse Junction, on Friday morning, we were informed, we got to know that one of our high-tension poles, and the high-tension poles are those very, very long poles with about mainly three cables running over them. It had been cut off. We went to the field to check, and everything looked like it had been intentionally cut off, probably with a chainsaw, or probably a hacksaw. But it was not just an axe or cutlass thing. So we reported to the police. The police are doing their investigations. However, at Akuse Junction, we don't have any threat to our lives. We are allowed to do our work. So on the same Friday, we were able to erect a new pole. We redid all the cable work, and we were able to restore supply. Now, that particular pole that they sell is part of the network that supplies power to Akole water pumping station and the Edukrom water pumping station. We've been able to work on it within that same day, Friday, and we were able to restore supply because we did not have any threats to our lives. We were able to go about our duties as normally as possible.
So, let me ask you again, for the sake of emphasis, how can the current situation be resolved?
How can the current situation be resolved? Okay, so there are some meetings that have gone on here, and there's some high delegation meetings which I cannot speak to. However, generally, we all need to talk peace. We all need to speak peace. It's like when, let's say, an incident occurs. Let's say a chief will talk about the need for peace. The politicians will talk about the need for peace. All the leaders will talk about the need for peace. But for any issue of violent attacks, it would not be these leaders per se who would do those acts. It would be us, the common people on the ground, the ordinary people. So as media, for instance, when you broadcast, you reach all of us. You reach the prominent ones. You reach the ordinary ones. We all need to talk peace. We all need to speak peace. Imagine that all of ECG's assets, almost all of ECG's assets are outside. By that, I mean that our transformers, our sub-transmission stations, our cables, our poles, our pylons, everything is outside. Even currently, a lot of the meters are outside homes. We have few meters which are within homes, and even that, we don't just barge into your home that will give us access to the meter. No, we still seek your permission. All we say is, do not prevent us from seeing the meter, but we'll still ask your permission. Almost all our systems are outside. So if we are not entering your homes, if we are not invading your privacy, if we can go about our duties without even having to knock on your gates per se, why attack us? Why threaten us? Even to the extent of actually pelting us with stones. Why? Nobody would see a deadly situation and just sort of go into it. Life is only one. We all need to protect our lives. Life is paramount. We work outside, so to say. But in working outside, we still get attacked. We all need to talk peace. We all need to talk peace, all of us. Ghana prides itself with being a peaceful nation. But so far as we have pockets of violence every now and then, the supposed peaceful nation vision, if I may use that word, it will not be realized. We all need to talk peace. We all need to sensitize each other. We all need to teach each other that, look, you could end up causing damage. You may think you are fighting for somebody, but the person you are fighting for is the person on the field with you. If the police should pick you up for causing damage or for hurting somebody, you would be the one to go to jail. Your family cannot replace you. You would end up having to spend a good enough time locked up somewhere because of something that you could have prevented. Whatever might be going on, let's use dialogue. Let's talk. Let's learn to be open and to listen to each other and to hear each other, rather than resorting to violence.
I know the final decision will be made by your bosses at the top, whether or not your colleagues on the field return to do some work to try to restore power to the area. But I'm wondering what the conversation is on, under what circumstances you send those engineers back to the field. What has to happen? Because you said, let's talk peace. But if we start shouting peace, peace, I'm not sure that will still convince you to send anybody to the field. Under what condition would they go back to the field?
Okay, so now you are in the media, you're on radio. there are companies who decide to do some sort of activation for their products. So they would do a bit of radio, they would do a bit of TV, newspaper, social media, billboards. So they do all of this to target different people, though the message is one. So whilst the top people, the high level meetings are going on, the rest of us, media, as a major stakeholder, let's also do our part. Let's talk peace. I mean, we can't think of anything else but peace, because since all this happened, even to the extent that in November last year, November 2021, there was a demonstration, and they threatened that they do not want to work with ECG, and if we continue to stay there, it would be to our own. Whatever would happen would be to like it would be our own. Should I say fault? We will be responsible for whatever happens to us. This forced us to relocate our office from Somanya to Joapong, because in 2017 there was another demonstration, and in that demonstration they caused some massive damage to our office in Somanya. We have some glass in front of our office. They broke a lot of the glass, so they were walking in front of the office. Somebody would just pick up a stone and throw it towards our office. Somebody will pick a stick and throw it, break and throw it, just about anything. Our staff had to run for their lives. They have seen some before. That was in 2017. So when in 2021 there was another threat for demonstration, the staff did already. They are not exactly at peace. They don't have that peace of mind. They don't feel that safety as much as they need to be able to go about their duties. They saw the violence that happened in 2017. Our office had to be shut down for 3 months for renovation work. Imagine, 3 months. So you can imagine the extent of damage. So for 3 months, ECG was not running in Somanya office, the Krobo district office. So in 2021, November last year, when the threat and the demonstration came up again, we quickly relocated. Again, if there's peace, you can go about and have your demonstration, and no party would feel like you are going to cause damage to them. Nobody would feel that way. So again, while the high-level meetings are going on, while they discuss all that they are discussing at their levels, on our level, on our part, let's talk. Let's keep talking peace. And
Okay.
peace shouldn't be something that will sort of say, oh, we are only going to talk about it within a time frame. Like oftentimes when there's an election, when we are going to have a major election, we all talk about peace, we sing peace, we eat peace, we drink peace, and all of that. The aftermath.
Okay.
Let's make it a continuous conversation.
Okay, Sakyiwaa, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning.
You're welcome.
Of course, because it's an ongoing matter. With that further conversation, I'm sure we'll speak a lot more.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Sakyiwaa Mensah is Tema Regional PRO of the Electricity Company of Ghana, speaking to us this morning. What I will do is I'll take a break. When I come back, Afriwa will have the floor, because these are two conversations that Afriwa needs to take care of before we move on to any other thing. So we are back shortly.
For